Farm. I'm Jay, and today I'm going to be talking to you about your pantry. More accurately, I'll be talking to you about your extended pantry and how to build up an extended pantry. Like most people, when we started our journey, we had a normal pantry and we used to do, I think, fortnightly shopping, and we'd buy things as we need them. We didn't really have a reserve, not to speak of. I mean, we had things in the pantry, but not to sustain us for any length of time. Now, to stock your pantry so that it does sustain you for a certain amount of time, of course, costs money, and a lot of people can't afford to just go out and spend hundreds, if not, a few $1,000s just to stock the pantry well. So think of it as a project that you're going to do over a period of time, or if you are in a position to go out and do it straight away, maybe you want to use your tax refund money for something like that, then all power to you. But it can be daunting knowing where to start. What I'm here to show you today is how we did it. First, I started and I made a list of everything in our pantry that we use all the time, or that I don't want to be out of. So, having then compiled that list, we set up shelving in what we call our extended pantry. For us, it's a small bedroom down the other end of the house. We've set it out with shelving, and I will show you the photos here, and I'll sort of talk over the top. The first photo here is just showing you mostly is our own home canned goods, whereas the other shelf here is more to do with the stuff that comes from the supermarket. And at the moment, to start off with, I'm going to talk about the stuff we get from the supermarket first. So that's what we'll be dealing with. I will leave in the description below a link where you can go and you can print out one of these. It'll be blank, it won't be filled in like this one is here, but it'll be blank for you to go through your own pantry and fill it out. Now what you need to do is make a list of the products, their size, and then you've got two other columns. One is a count column, it tells you how many you've got in stock. Then there's a minimum column, and then an order column. But first we're dealing with making the list of goods. So, like for example in mine, I'm not going to read it all to you, but I've got things like breadcrumbs, sparkling mineral water, which I often drink. Then we go into the sugars, where we've got your regular white sugar, caster, icing brown. Then we go into flours, we've got plain, self-raising, corn flour. Then we go into custard powders, baked beans and tinned spaghetti. Then we go into sauces. We've got assato sauce, mint sauce, tomato ketchup, sweet chili sauce, HP sauce, Worcestershire sauce, fish sauce, oyster sauce. We've also got vinegar. We've got horseradish, whole grain mustard, French mustard, cranberry sauce, applesauce, soy sauce. Then we go into more salad type things with our coleslaw dressings, potato salad dressings, salad creams, balsamic dressings, and so forth. Then we've got oils on here, like for example olive oil, could be sunflower oil, whatever. We've got our tomato pastes or puree, whichever one you call it. Then we go into things like curry paste, ready-made curry pastes, coconut milk, coconut cream, baby corn, water chestnuts, bamboo shoots. These are all things that we would put in a stir fry that we wouldn't necessarily grow in our garden. Then it goes on to sort of things like condensed milk, fruit, canned fruit. These are obviously fruits that we have in here, like pineapple. We can't grow pineapple where we are in our part of the world. We can't grow mangoes, so anything like that goes in there. We've got rock salt, peppercorns. Then we go into teas, coffees, milk powders. Then we get down to pastas, your fettuccine, your spaghetti, spiral, shell, this sort of thing. We also include on here paper towels, baking paper, cling film, foils, bin liners, freezer bags. Then we get down into more sort of poisons, if you like, fly sprays, surface sprays. We even keep mice and rat bait on here. Then we're into disinfectants, finish tablets for the dishwasher, our washing powders, fabric softeners, stain removers. Then it goes to personal items with shampoos, conditioners, toothpaste, soap, cotton buds, women's sanitary products, deodorants, toilet paper, and so on. Once you've compiled all of that and you've broken it up into, well, you've grouped it more together into categories, and the only reason I've done that is just to make it easier for checking it every, before you do a shop. As I say, you put down the size because that's important. I'll explain why I'll explain how I do my shop later and why the size is important to have in there. Then we get to our minimum column. Now this is a hard one because you'd be surprised. Things you think you need a lot of, often you don't. And things that you don't realise you need as much of, you sort of underestimate. So the minimum column is something that is ever changeable. But all you can do to start with is to make an educated guess. Now this list is solely for your extended pantry. We're not interested in anything that is in your fridge or your regular pantry or in canisters or anything like that. Once the packaging is open, it comes off of this list. It's no longer part of the extended pantry as far as I'm concerned. So I try and work out, okay, our fortnightly shopping, for example, we might go do fortnightly shopping. How many of this particular thing do I need, say, for a month or 2 months, or however long you need your pantry to last, right? And I suggest you start off small because it's not so daunting, okay? Try to build up so that you've got maybe a couple of months worth of items in the pantry to start with. So, for example, sugar, regular white sugar. Here, I've worked out that the cheapest way to buy it through the supermarket is in a 2 kilogram bag. The 3 kilogram bag is false economy because it costs the same per kilo and it's harder to store on the shelf. So I stick with the 2 kilogram one. Now, irrelevant, as I say, of whatever's open in the rest of the kitchen, I require 5 on the shelf. So I've got my minimum for that down as 5. Caster sugar, I've got down, comes in a 1 kilo bag, and I've only got 2 down for that one. Now, things like sugar will change. Although I've got 5 on here, and for most of the year this is fine, from around about, or I would say November, through to about the end of February, I mentally make a note that I like my lots of sugar to be up near the 10 mark, and that's only because I know that that's when I make jams, that's when we preserve fruit and it's often in syrup. Some of the vegetables that we can, I will put sugar in them, like for example carrots, I put sugar in. So the volume of sugar we use in that period of time increases. I do all our wine making through that period of time. Each demijohn of wine I make up takes, you know, a couple of kilos of sugar. So the 5 bags, all you need to do is make a couple of batches of sugar and a couple of things of demijohns of wine, and it's cleaned you out virtually. So I always like to have at least 5 bags more, to cover that sort of thing through that time. And then I drop it back to the normal 5. Then I've got things like baked beans. Baked beans are always a good go-to if maybe there's sickness in the house, people don't want to cook, you just suddenly want something quick and warm and nourishing. Baked beans is a good go-to. So I always make sure that our baked beans and tin spaghetti, there's always at least 10 on the shelf. Bear in mind, this is a minimum. You can go over, it's not an issue, but our minimum is 10 of those. What else is there? White vinegar, plain white vinegar, 2 litres, 2 litre bottles. We always have a minimum of 4 of those on the shelf, minimum. What else is there? Big tea drinkers in this house. I always make sure we have 12 packets of tea leaves as a minimum on the shelf. And what else? I think that, I mean, this probably gives you a rough idea of what I'm sort of talking about. So give yourself that minimum. If you decide that that amount is too much, it's sitting there for months on end, drop it back. And if you find you're running out of it or coming close to running out of it every time you do a shop, then that's something that needs to be increased. And you'll slowly get a feel for it. And like I said with our sugar, some things you'll find are a little bit seasonal and you'll have to make adjustments depending on the season. So, having compiled your list, having got your minimum quantities, having set up your extended pantry, and it doesn't have to be a room, we're just particularly fortunate. You might be able to put up some shelving in your laundry room. You might have a spare bedroom with a wardrobe that doesn't get used. You might want to put the shelving in the wardrobe. You might have a dry, sealed, lined garage that you can put some shelving along a wall and do that. Whatever the arrangement is, once that's in place and you have your list, you've got your minimums, okay, it's the day before shop day. You do what I do. I mean, this is saved on my computer with everything on it. All I do is print it out. The minimum list is already, I don't know if you can see, so the minimum quantity list is already there. So then all I do is account. And if we're using this particular list as an example, the sugar, I've got a minimum of 5 bags. When I did this count, there was 4 bags there. So 1 goes in the column. Okay, the baked beans I use as an example. Minimum is 10. There's 7 tins on the shelf. In my order column, I've written 3. According to this, we need a bottle of Worcestershire sauce. We need a jar of French mustard. On our olive oil, we buy in those 4-litre tins. It's much cheaper buying it that way. And we've got a bottle on our countertop that we decant it into, and then the open tin stays in the kitchen pantry, and the unopened ones stay in the extended pantry. So at the moment, I've got, our list says that we need 2 in the extended pantry. We've only got 1, so I'm ordering 1. But what's interesting is, although there's 1 in the extended pantry and 1 on order, there's 3/4 of 1 in the normal pantry, plus what's been decanted into a bottle on the countertop. So this isn't the all we've got, if you know what I mean. If something comes up as 0, doesn't mean we don't have it. It just means that we don't have any more reserves of it. Now, there are things on my list that I haven't taken off yet, but you can see perhaps that I've put an asterisk next to it, because the count is 0 and I'm not ordering any. In the case of that particular item, it's tomato sauce, and I have homemade tomato sauce on the shelf. But often the homemade tomato sauce runs out before tomatoes come back into season. So I leave it on here so I can start ordering it when the home stuff runs out. And that applies to a few things. Applesauce on the list here falls under the same category. Beetroot, it's the same. We've got, I think 2 dozen pints of homemade pickled beets or beetroot on the pantry shelf, but it's on this list here and it's still showing we've got 5 supermarket cans of it. So I will encourage everyone to use the supermarket cans up first, to use it up before we start on the homemade stuff in there. And this is basically what you do. And we do that every fortnight, and that's what we order from. And although the list looks massive, what you actually end up ordering is quite minimal. But once your stocks build up, while you're building the stock up, go through and you order as a priority anything that's on 0, because obviously you do need that, right? But anything that's under its minimum, go through and order, or just get 1 or 2, and just do it slowly. Or if you find a particular item, you might say your goal is to have your baked bean count up to 10, and you've only got 1 on the shelf. But they're on special this week. You know, might be 3 for the price of 2 or whatever. So you might decide you're going to go for it and bring that up to 10 or even more while they're on special. If they're not on special, you might just decide to get 1 or 2 tins to slowly start building it up, and do it that way. But over time, if you just keep getting a little bit extra, 1 or 2 items or extra onto this list, you'll slowly build it up to those minimum levels, and then your shopping will basically be the same. What we do to eliminate impulse purchasing, and to save me having to go into the wretched, horrible places anyway, which I cannot stand, I order online. We have 2 supermarkets here in South Australia that we use, and I get a window up for both of them, and each item that I need to buy I get them up on the screen, I order you know, the best price, the best deal, and you'll be surprised that the shopping is generally spread kind of close to halfway down the middle. One of the supermarkets, if you spend over $150, which we always do, offers free delivery at, you know, between certain times of the day, so we don't have to pay for that one to be delivered. The other one charges you for delivery, but if you want them to do your shopping for you and you just go and pick it up, that's free. So what we do is my eldest daughter happens to drive past that supermarket on the way back from work, so when we do the shopping, I just text her and she calls in at that supermarket on the way home, and she doesn't even have to get out of the car. It's just a drive through, she pulls in and they load it into the boot of her car and she brings it home. And that's how we do that. You can also use this same method for your fridge and freezer and do it in the exact same way. Obviously this doesn't cover every single item in your pantry, fridge and freezer, but it's the regular stuff. In your fridge, it's your butter, your different cheeses, your milks, creams, sour cream, anything, you know, like that. Your freezer, it might be a particular type of, like with us, if we don't have fresh peas, we get frozen peas. We get often frozen pastry. And so you do the same thing, have a separate list for your fridge and freezer, and it works the same way by bringing it up to the minimum quantity, and that way you won't run out. It's also very handy if there's suddenly an emergency and maybe your car breaks down and you've got a massive bill to cover. You can get away with, okay, well this fortnight we're not actually going to do a shop. We're just going to let it go because we've got to pay this thing for the car. And then, admittedly, you then have to make it up further down the track. But you can build it up over a few shops. You don't have to do it all the next one. And you'd be surprised how long it all lasts. So it is worth doing, and it's not hard. Please don't find it daunting. Every year, we've just done it this weekend, which is what's prompted me to do this for you today. We clear out the extended pantry. We take everything off the shelves. We give it all the shelves a good clean, and then we put everything back on the shelves, and we do a recount, because there are some things that get missed in the weekly or fortnightly counts we do, because something's got pushed to the back or whatever. We obviously rotate our food every time we get new stuff in, but it's not always successful, unfortunately. We're all human, things get missed. So doing that once a year just highlights to any count that's incorrect. You can correct that. We also check all the expiry dates, and anything that's past its date or close to its date gets moved to the front or moved to the regular pantry, so that we know we have to act on it and use it up. Now, just quickly, I'm going to quickly cover the extended pantry for the canning. Recommend a display book, sort of like this one. It's just, it's got these transparent little sleeves in it. Okay, so get yourself one of those. And again, I actually got this idea from Linda's Pantry. So I'm not going to claim all the glory for this. This is, as I say, from her channel. A few years ago I saw this, but I've been doing it ever since. That is the canning inventory. Now, if you look down in the description below, I'll leave a link so that you can print out one of these, or save it to your computer and print it out to use. It's brilliant. That's a blank one, obviously. But what you do is you put the year up here, obviously 2019. Now we've got here, I use one page for each product. This one here is tomato sauce. Now you've got, what is it, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. You've got 12 pictures of little jars across the thing. I just colour in the lids for every 12 I have. Sorry, start again. I colour in the lids for each jar I have. So for example, I've got 15 jars of this on my shelf at the moment. So I've put tomato sauce on the top 2 lines. I've coloured in the 12 lids of the top and 3 lids of the next one down to represent that. On this column at the end here, it's got the size of the jars, being quarts, pints or half pints, and there's a box next to each. So I've just coloured in the pints box because obviously they're pint jars. Now, so I can look at that in my folder without having to go to the shelf and count it, and know that I've got 15 pint jars of tomato sauce in there. If I use one, I take one off the shelf, I grab the book, which is kept on the shelf in the extended pantry, and I just run a line through that last jar. And I just keep doing that until obviously they're all gone. And I have one for each product. Now, as I say, 2019 goes at the top. Where I put tomato sauce, I put the year next to it. I haven't in this particular case because it was made this year. But when things get older, I mean, I've got pickled onions. Okay, applesauce. Applesauce is from 2017. Needs to be marked on there. Plum sauce is 2017. I've got 1 jar of pear chutney from 2016 that's left there. Cherry pie filling. Fruit mince, cherries in syrup. Pickled beets or beetroot as we call it. Potatoes, pickled cucumber, green beans, velouté beans, pectin, black beans, red kidney beans, white beans. Now the passata, for example, we've got 40 jars of tomato passata, which is what we use as a tomato if we need a tomato base for a pasta sauce or anything like that. That's what we use. And so we've got 40 jars, 40 pint jars that were done in January 2019. Having said that, we've still got 60 jars that are from January 2018. Okay, so the other advantage to this, of course, is I can look at this and think, okay, we're about to be sowing our seeds for the spring planting. We may need to ease up on the tomatoes this year because we may not need any passata by looking at this. But anyway, we've got sweetened apricots there, unsweetened apricots, apricot jam, carrots, whole carrots, diced carrots, pumpkin, and that's from 2016, blackberry jam from 2017, game stock, beef stock. So it's easy. I say, when you put it in your folder, you can flick through, you can see what you've got, how much you've got, and as I say, it doesn't just help with the planning of your menus and your pantry and your food. It's wonderfully valuable for the planting of your garden too. So yeah, so that's that. So I'm sure this video has gone on long enough by now. So that's all I'm going to cover for today. If you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments below. And sorry it's been a long time since I've seen you all, but hopefully we're going to be getting back on track. So hopefully I'll see you again in the coming days. Thank you for joining me today and being patient with us. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe. Hit the little bell so you're notified when we do release a video. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. And until next time, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!